so that you'll get a clear. Are you here in Georgia or Atlanta?
I'm in
Or I mean Alabama.
I'm in Georgia.
Okay. All right. So um I had to come back up there 2 weeks on that Wednesday. They had an expo in Birmingham at the
I love creating millionaires. Well, come on, Miss Paula. I'm ready.
look, and one billionaire. Look. Breezy's my billionaire, baby. That's my $1 billion baby.
I love it.
And everybody comes, I mean, started where you guys are. So I've been dealing with NARAB since I left SBA. And what I found is 85% of my audience or the students over the last 10 years have been real estate agents and brokers.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And so even with Breezy, I wanted her, and I keep having this conversation because people go through the program,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think their fears stop them from moving, and they go back to their comfort zone
Mm. Yeah.
of selling homes. And Breezy, and Stacy. Stacy's another one. What makes y'all different? What made y'all stay with it? And they just looked at it as another business, a revenue stream. Business is business.
Right.
And I think what I see with NARAL is that this realtist and real estate agent is just so embedded in your brain that you don't understand it's really just project management. Mhm. You're just pulling a team together.
Okay.
So that's what makes it transferable skills. It's no different than what you're doing in real estate.
Mhm.
Only thing different, you just gonna put your money on top of it, and you getting paid up front instead of working on a hope and pray industry.
Okay.
We hope we get this sale. You don't worked hard for 7 days for the last 2 3 months, and it's not guaranteed.
Right.
And I've studied your industry, and y'all not really making a whole lot of money. It's a hit or miss
Mm.
because the community that you're selling to, we don't have that kind of, we're not buying those $1 million homes like that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's the reality.
Mm.
But we need both sides. I love the mission of NARAB. That's why I'm there. We need both sides. So I would say um, now is the time. People, it's preparation.
Mhm.
I'm not being concerned with what's going on with this nut in the White House. What I'm doing is following the money, and
Okay.
I'm just beginning to mobilize.
Okay.
Um, and for me, it's all about our why. Why are you doing this? And I already know why you doing this, because you're doing it for these grandbabies to leave their legacy. And for me, I don't have any children. So everybody that comes through this program, you all are my legacy. When I look at Breezy and I look at Stacy, I look at Vicky, several of them, I can smile and say, I know their children's children are set. That's my assignment because my why is my father, who was one of the first black police officers in my hometown of Asheville, North Carolina, who ended up having to sue the police department on discrimination back in the 80s. And
Mm.
he won and got his back pay. Ended up retiring. After he retired, he ended up running for city council, won, and found land by the park. I mean, by the projects that he felt like the kids needed a park. And he got it funded. And so we now have a park in his name. So for me, I feel like all of us stand on our ancestors' shoulders, and we should have no excuse because we have a whole lot more than they have ever had. But
You're
they
right.
had less and made it work for us. So that's why I'm obligated. So why?
Oh, look at that.
I'm gonna start out again originally from Asheville. After college, I went to Washington, D.C. and saw all those black folks. I was like, y'all free up here. Because everybody was part of this 8A program. Now you've heard of the 8A program, correct?
I did. Yes, I have.
And so my very first job was with a company that was a part of the program and doing event planning. That worked for me. It's like, okay, I get to pay plan the party for the government, and y'all gonna pay me to travel all over the U.S. planning these events.
I love it.
And so I got to see the inside operations. Not only was I planning the events, I was watching and hearing how the money flowed. So I ended up attaching myself to one contract that was a part of that program and ended up going through six companies before I started my first business. The first year in business, I received $1 million contract. Second year, I applied into the 8A, received another 3 million, and grew it really quickly to close to 15 million in contracts. My challenge began because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I went from a project manager with 40 employees and a multi-million dollar business and could not read a profit and loss statement. I had two business partners, one who felt like he could run all his personal expenses through the business. Uh, the last straw for me was a $3,000 custom made pinstripe suit with his initials going down the pinstripe. And I'm like, Negro, you have lost your mind. So I had my assistant to do an audit on his credit card. He takes her in the elevator, threatens her. I then terminate him. He then conspired with two employees to sue me and the other partner for sexual harassment. After 2 years of attorney fees, 125,000 in attorney fees, 100,000 to buy him out. I had no more operating cash, so I closed the business down in 2005. And it really pushed me to my new passion because I realized nobody was um, teaching us how to play in this game. Nobody teaching us how to grow and run a business on that level.
Mhm.
So I volunteered for 2 years as a score counselor. Um, and I was the first black female score counselor in DC, and which their office was right next to SBA. So SBA was sending them all of my clients, all of their clients to me, because I was the only one that was a business owner. Scores are retired executives. They can't help you.
Mhm.
After 2 years there, I went to ran out of money, applied for a position in Philadelphia. And that position, I serviced the businesses once they got into the program. But it was the office that processed all the 8A applications. So I got to build relationships over there and understanding what y'all looking for and how are you approving these applications. After 4 years there, I relocated here in 2012. Um, and while I was at this district office, they required us to become certified as contract specialists. That was the missing piece for me, meaning I'd run a business, I understood SBA's operation, and I didn't understand how the agencies put those solicitations out for you to compete. So by becoming certified, that was the full circle. I got mad at SBA in 2015 and said, y'all don't know what you're doing. And having worked with their resource partners, it's all information based. nobody has worked on the inside of SBA, so nobody understands their regulations. The SBA is a major factor in this. I've trained more than 10,000 businesses on how to get into this space, and 1.5 billion in contracts across various industries. Um, and
Impressive.
I've self-published a book called That's Crazy, Recognize Crazy, and Run. It's all based on that what was in that business. You don't know. You get caught up in crazy. It's like how am I in court? What is because they were crazy. I didn't recognize it. So I'm trying to forewarn y'all through my book. There are signs of craziness.
Okay.
So what are the small business challenges? As I state, I would hold workshops and everybody would leave and say, "Oh, that's great information." They'll leave and still not sure how to connect the dots. So what happens at SBA, they'll tell you to go to our resource partners. They'll help you because nobody on SBA has ever run a business. None of the people at the resource partners, they're W-2 employees. They can't tell you the game. And it's the same thing with the government agencies. Nobody understands SBA's regulations. So what's the challenge? It is um, understanding the language, understanding the process. You've gotten certified. We good at getting certified up. But understanding what is SBA looking for when you are applying into those programs, and understanding that these websites are not connected. I am recording this for you too, dear. So, based on all of that, that's what made me create this program based on lessons learned. Not to limit your business. When I came in, my mentor asked me, I was marketing my business to the agencies as an event planning company. He said, "Why are you pigeonholing yourself?" When he said that, it made sense based on the companies I went through and the ones that were successful. So I changed my business model and I became a management consulting, and I created divisions. I had a event planning, I had IT, I had communication, had a database division, and then I started winning opportunities in those areas. The system has been designed for us to be laborers. They're never teaching you how to run and start a business. They're teaching you to build a business on your skill set. And if you're working in your business, you're never going to be able to grow that business. So in the first module, that's where we teach you how to create that business model. You're going to do all the research. This is very hands-on. It's almost like school. It is school. They say it's worse than master class. But it's all practical, and you have to know how to build a foundation that's going to be sustainable in this space and not necessarily on your skill set. It's teaching you how to be a CEO and to understand I don't have to know anything about that contract to win. That's not my job. Am I making sense? Okay. Secondly, is understanding in this space, collaboration is key. And your industry is very competitive. In this space, all these contracts and SBA programs are designed for you to work together. You have to come and work together. So in the second part of the module, I help you to y'all in teams. At that point, we're the government. You can't talk to her. You got to learn how to work together. Collectively, we are better. Hi, Miss White. Welcome.
Good
Uh,
morning.
and then third, you have to have the infrastructure in place. What do I mean? based on the conversation I just had, Miss Harris.
You have to have the infrastructure in place.
Mm,
Mm, I guess your establishment.
accounting, attorneys. You heard I got sued. Had I had employment practice liability insurance,
Mm,
that would have covered the lawsuit. That's something no one told me. Mm.
mm,
So understanding rules of engagement. Everyone wants automatic. I just want to get contracts. Well, you get the contracts, then what? You need to understand what you're getting into. Welcome, Miss White. Can you introduce yourself and how you hear about us and where you're from?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I live in McDonough, and I heard about you through the ABC. I saw your flyer in the chat, so I just copied it.
Okay, and what's your background?
Um, Professionally, I'm in human resources, have a degree, bachelor's degree in human resources, and a master's degree in business management. And I resigned from my previous employer about a year ago to start working on my own HR consulting firm. Haven't done a whole lot, had a few small private contracts, but really looking to get into the government contracting space.
And so that's all it is. It's staffing.
Hmm.
That's all government contracting is. It's staffing. It's finding the people to work on the contract and you putting your money on top of them. That's how you make money.
Hmm.
It's a shift. We have not been taught this. We have not been taught it, right?
Right.
I have all these people, I have some doctors in the program right now. They haven't taught that doctor's degree didn't teach them how to build out a practice.
Hmm.
Teaching them how to do a skill. So my goal is to shift our community right now, more now than ever, because we've got to come together. They trying to kill us, and I refuse to go down without a fight. Okay. What? Okay. Let me go back. So when you look at the government, do you all know the government's fiscal year? When it starts and ends?
October.
October 1st through September 30th. So what happens during this time, and you have to be strategic in this. You usually the government has not passed a full budget, so they're operating on a continuing resolution. If you think about, and again, we have to listen to the news. We're disconnected to where the money is, but I'm still, even though I don't like hearing it, I'm still focused on where they're flowing the money.
Okay.
They passed the budget in March for fiscal year 25. That's what's going on right now with the budget that they passed, um, that they're trying to pass for 26, which is horrible. But I read it. And again, I want to be strategic and following the money. So a lot of the money right now is still going to be increased in those agencies, but where it's decreasing, they're flowing it to state and local. So my goal is we need to get all of those so that we're positioned regardless. Because my goal is once you understand the federal process, it's easier to bid on state and local because they're getting federal dollars, which means they have to follow the rules and regulations. So typically, in a normal time, and even now, the best time to start marketing to these agencies is generally October through March because they haven't gotten their funding. Right now, we're getting ready to enter in the fourth quarter, which means they're trying to get rid of all of that money by September 30th. what I have found, I think this right now, the chaos is to our advantage, and I'm going to show you all later because they have incompetent people putting these bids out. Just what I'm looking at. It's like they don't know what they're doing. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, you got a whole, reduce the workforce, which means the work still needs to get done, the money still needs to get spent. You've gotten rid of people that understand or have the institutional knowledge. So at the end of the year, they're not going to scrutinize your bids as much because they don't know what they're doing. But they have to spend the money. So that's why I say it's to our advantage. Does that make sense to y'all?
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, it does.
And we got to come at with them a different game. So why? And they're still trying to shift and do what they're going to do. But right now, this is the law. 23% of contracts have to be set aside for small business. 5% women-owned, 5% for participants in the 8A, 5% for service disabled, and 3% for hub zone. And so what that means for you is the more certifications you have, the more you're helping the agency achieve that goal. So let's say the agency had a contract for $100,000. That agency gets $100,000 credit towards that goal. Let's say you're woman-owned certified. Now they get an extra 100,000 towards that goal. So the more certifications you have, the more you are helping that agency achieve their goals because SBA keeps a scorecard. And so I use this scorecard often as a strategy based on who's not meeting their goals as a marketing strategy. Also, we now have to change our dialogue. We can't lead with all these certifications. We've been trained. I'm DBE, WBE, all these. And we no longer can lead with that conversation. Our conversation now have to be, I'm a small business offering these services. And by the way, I have these certifications as a contracting vehicle. The game has changed. We just go with where the game has changed because in the end, it's still our tax dollars as I look at it. Again, what I realized when I came here from DC area and was in Philadelphia and moved here, everybody outside of the DC area don't have a clue just based on the number of businesses in this program. I'm updated. It's about 1,100 now that are certified in Virginia. You can see in Maryland. When you come here to Alabama, even in Alabama, it's only 138 in the entire state, 41 in Mississippi. So I would tell businesses while I was servicing them at SBA, go where the competition is minimized. Here in Georgia, it's 216. Out of the 216, there's 117 Black-owned businesses that are in this program. This is a program that is for us, was designed for us, but they're trying to dilute it so much that we don't get the same benefit. That's why up in DC, you had the most wealth. Everybody was an 8A contractor. That's how I grew up in it. So what you find is businesses from DC coming here to win contracts. Ain't had no competition. Y'all think about it. So for me, something was wrong because I refuse to believe in Mississippi, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, that we don't have more than 100 Black-owned businesses that can participate in this program. Something is wrong. So when you look at this database, and what I tell businesses is the competition isn't as much on the federal side, but when I was working as a resource partner at SBA and their resource partners, they'll tell you you're not ready to compete on the federal level. Start on the local, then go to the state. And that's not absolutely incorrect. I never had a state or local contract. All my contracts was federal because the government have contracts that are 250,000 and below that are specifically for small businesses. So if you think of you competing on state and local, you're competing with a larger pool. Whereas on the federal side, I can win a contract in California. I don't have to be there. So the competition is minimal. It's not as much. This is an example of a contract, just to shift y'all out of the head, out of your skill set. The government needed bread. This was a pre-solicitation. I'm going to actually take you to this solicitation when I conclude this so I can show you that they don't know what they're doing, even submitting their bids, because they're going to have to come back and do another amendment. So the government need bread. Um, in Alabama. The due date was May 29th. This is the scope of work. Actually, an announcement. It's a pre-solicitation telling you heads up is coming out May 15th. It did come out, but it didn't come out with the information that's typically in a response for RFQ. What's also interested in here, and that makes sense to me, that they put faith-based and community-based organizations. So to me, that's why I say these churches, they're already doing prison ministries. Tie into these churches. Or the churches need to be aware they can compete on these contracts. We got to take our money back. They have made me mad. So when you look at Georgia, and I ask these people, ask people this all the time, look at the federal agencies that are here. And one major one isn't even listed. What's here that's not listed here that stands out? CDC. CDC. Look at all these military bases.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever there's a military base, there's going to be a contract. No competition. Atlanta is considered a regional headquarters. So all of these are regionals um, areas. So CDC is under HHS, but it's its own campus and own how many centers are under CDC. So it's understanding who you have in your backyard and how you go after it. So how do you get in this game? You self-certify in SAM. I call I was still at SBA when this came out. We called it such a mess. It's still such a mess because it has a lot of bugs in it. You can self-certify as a small business and a small disadvantaged business. These programs are the only programs that require formal approval by SBA. The 8A Business Development Program is designed to build your business. The Hub Zone program is designed to build communities. Women owned or service disabled is just what it is. Why I say, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the website where you go to determine whether or not you qualify for any of these programs. Um, why I am a preacher of this program because this is the program that creates generational wealth. Why? It's the only program that allows you to go to any federal agency and they can award contracts up to $4.5 million with no competition. That's how I grew that business so quickly. I was getting sole source contracts. You're in it for 9 years. So, Ms. Harris, on your tax returns, please do not, and you said you've got your women's certification. You want to make sure you're not using that broker's code, that real estate agent brokering code. You want to use the 541611. That's what we kind of tell all of you guys. That's a catch-all code.
Okay.
Um, how we play this game, and that's how it's played up in DC. And this is what I'm training you all in the program. You're grandfathered in the program for the most part by somebody that's graduating. So you're identifying those companies that are graduating that cannot keep those contracts to partner with. So when they graduate, they flip it. That makes sense.
Yes.
The other game to this is you always, once you get in it, you're always going to be bringing someone else along. You should have family members. Example, one of my real estate agents, um, she did about 70, she's done about 75 million. She started with me when I left the SBA. Her son got out of the military. He's 26 years old. I said, get him started in business, start subcontracting to him now. He's done it 3 years. Now she's graduated. Now he can get into the program under his own entity and get another 9 years. Her 23-year-old was like, what y'all doing? So she came through my program. And now she's in a position. So this is how we got to play this game. um, but the whole thing is um, leveraging this. So that real estate agent, she did 75 million, nothing to do with real estate. Her very first contract was with CDC. That was a sole source contract testing monkeys in a lab for HIV. It was a $3.5 million contract.
Mm.
Only thing she did was pick up the 9 people that been working on that contract for 15, 20 years. Are y'all hearing my game?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is how we keep it going. You're always going to we've got to collectively come together to beat this system right now. All right, y'all can see I get excited and I'm passionate about making sure we get in this because the house is on fire and I need all hands on deck because they crazy. But we need money to fight them. So this is the way we get our money to fight them, right? Yes.
Ms. Paula, when I applied for 8A, they had put it on hold. Is it now? I received a notification from SBA that it was on hold. And
When? When was that?
it was 3 years ago when they did grant me the WOSB, but the 8A, it said that it was on hold.
It was last year because they sued. And I'll go into that suit.
Okay.
So this program is a program to my heart. This is where you have all the generational wealth up in DC. Mhm. Everybody was an 8A contractor. That's how I learned the game from that side, but also understanding it from the inside. I got to study businesses for 7 years at SBA, and nobody at SBA run a business, so they can't help you. HubZone. This is based on where your business is located. As long as it's located in a area that's designated as a hub zone and 35% of your employees reside in a hub zone, then you can qualify into this program. So when I look at that program, I look at it like what Magic Johnson did. What did Magic Johnson do? You know? Magic Johnson partnered with movie theaters, right? And went into communities and built in those movie theaters in the hood and hired from within.
Mm.
This is the same thing this program is on the federal side. So for the 8A program, it was based on two components, social disadvantage and economically disadvantaged. Previously, as long as you were a member of any one of these ethnic groups,
Mhm.
you were automatically qualified. Last year, a white woman sued SBA and said it wasn't fair, and they granted it. So now, in order to apply into this program, you have to prove that you've been traumatized being Black in America and write a social narrative. It was absolutely horrible what they was doing last year. I had a lot of my 8A firms that were already in the program that they made them go back and write this narrative before, and they had contracts waiting on them. But before they could receive those contracts, this had to be approved. Fine. We can get beyond that. I got the templates and I got the people in Philadelphia who I work with who's already told me what they need to include in that narrative because it's still subjective. If a white person is reading this, they're not going to understand my pain and say, no, you weren't discriminated. But don't get me, that's another story. The other component of this is based on this justice system. Those who have touched this system don't even know that they can start a business and get into this game. They just can't be on parole or probation. And so for me, this is another way that we turn around our community because that just us systems are government contracts for profit and another way to get free labor. So we have been hooked. What did Malcolm X say? We've been hooked in all of this. So I'm mad now. I'm trying to mobilize those who are ready to get in the game.
I'm ready.
Right now, the economic component of it, your adjusted net worth cannot exceed $850,000, minus any equity in your home and in your business. So if you have rental properties per se, that's going to count that against you, the equity in those properties. If you have multiple companies, for some reason in my community, we anytime we get an idea, we're gonna create a new company. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, we cannot do that in this space. That's a headache for me. Now I'm putting my government hat on because I'm the popo, and part of the program is that you're full time under the entity that you're working in. And if you have 4 or 5 companies and you have revenue going in each of those revenues, I don't know which master you're serving. So therefore, you're going to be declined. You can still, whatever you want to imagine you want to do, you can still put it under that one entity. So I show you just create divisions. When I look at divisions under that umbrella, my company as a management company, I create division. Those are all little mini companies under your own company. Yes, Miss White.
So I have a company with my husband, but he's 51%. I'm 49, but I also have my own company that I am 100%. I
Okay.
was thinking
What I
about,
Yeah, what I would recommend, y'all separate on paper. You can still play with each other. What you do behind the scenes, I don't care. But what I want you to do is um, now that's aligning him to go into the 8A program. Or you do, whoever takes the first lead, go in. So now that you are now getting 18 years in the program. Does that make sense? Which entity is the longest? Who's been in business the longest?
He has.
Okay. So he may need to take the lead, but your entity need to become certified as the WOSB. Whatever certifications I don't have, I'm going to have somebody in my back pocket with it. Does that make sense? Okay. The hub zone. No term limits. I'm not going to get in your business in this program in the 8A because it's a protected program. And you think about the sole source contracts, those are contracts that will never ever be advertised on SAM.gov. So there's a whole pool of money that the rest of the world don't see and don't even know where to find it. So once I got in the SBA, I was like, oh, this is the secret sauce right here. Because I was able now to identify those sole source contracts with the 8A companies that had them and begin to see when they graduate. Now you're aligning yourself with those companies that have those contracts that can't keep it, that now comes to you. That's what makes sense to me.
Oh, oh, you
Are
got
y'all with me?
sauce.
Huh?
I said, oh, you got the secret sauce.
So in here, you recertify every. They pushed it now to 3 years. You still get what they call competitive and sole source under this program. The only difference in this program is they have to have at least two companies that are qualified to compete on that contract in order to do a sole source. Whereas in the 8A, that's not required because it's a business development program. The whole purpose of you getting those sole source contracts is by the time you graduate from the program, you should be able to effectively compete outside of the program. That's the purpose of the program. Am I making sense?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. 10% of the government will add 10%, what they call 10% price evaluation preference on bids, on companies' bids who are outside of that program. So let's say and it's only on full and open. That means it's open to everyone. Let's say you competed on that contract and your bid was $500,000. The government's going to put 10% on someone else's cost that's not part of the program, making their cost 550,000. Right? The 500. Let's say their bid is 500, yours is 535. They put 10% on that $500,000 bid, making their costs higher. So you're always going to be lower on those types of bids. And again, principal office must be in the hub zone, 35% must live in the hub zone. So this is the map that designates and determines whether you're in the hub zone. If I'm a home-based business, um, and my address is located in a hub zone, do I qualify based on what I just said? Yeah, huh?
I think so.
Why? What makes it?
Location
And it's two components.
and I forgot.
The 35%.
Oh,
You are an
that's right.
employee of your company. So you're meeting that 35%. So if you put your address in, and again, the hub zone is not always in the hood zone. um, at downtown where I worked at the Peachtree Center at SBA, it's designated as a hub zone. You wouldn't think so because you got the Ritz Carlton right there. You have Marriott, Hyatt. But why do you think this makes it a hub zone? That area a hub zone? Hmm?
I don't know. I've been wondering that too, because I'm not in a hub zone, but I think I should be.
You got they used to have a homeless shelter there, and you got 5 Points. All these homeless people,
Yeah, that's what in the homeless population down there. But
huh?
I was thinking that the homeless population that
Yep. The whole purpose of the program is to build that community up and hire from within that community. So even around what I tell people to get in, use college students, right? You can use them part-time. Use that college address, right? You know all the HBCUs are down there. Let's start educating our children. Getting them in the game. The women's program is broken into 2 components. You said you were WOSB. Did you do the ED WOSB component?
I did, but I'm not sure if it was approved. I didn't get 2 certifications.
You need to go into your portal. Did you go through somebody or did you do it yourself?
I did it myself.
Okay, go back to the SBA portal, that my SBA certification, and look up your stuff to see where you are.
Okay.
So the ED is mirroring the 8A program. The
Okay.
difference between the ED and the WOSB is this is based on your net worth. But if you apply as an ED, you're automatically a WOSB. So they're going to be asking for tax returns and profit and loss statements because, again, they're trying to determine your adjusted net worth doesn't exceed that amount. And I say you do it yourself. So I'm glad people go through these third parties and they don't know their stuff. I'd rather you have control of the information in that database. All
Yeah,
right.
submit them my tax returns for 3 years.
Huh?
I did submit them my tax return for 3 years.
Okay. Go back in there and there should be a letter to see that confirms it.
Okay.
Or it should be in your SBA Dynamic Small Business profile. It'll say in your profile if you're certified, because SBA controls that database. Okay, so these are the conditions, minimum requirements. What I tell people, you cannot lie to the government. This program is still relatively new, and it was enacted when I was still at SBA. So it was all the husbands calling in to see how they can make their women the primary on this program because all of them require 51%. Either one of you veterans?
Mm.
Um, well, the veterans again is now under SBA.
My
What
husband.
and again, it's just paper. All these programs is just paper, but to me, it's more strategy. This is where people get confused. Understanding who, what, when, and where. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for so long. I'm MBE, DBE, EEE. Get away from these E's because these E's aren't for us right now, right? Because MBEs, WBEs, and DBEs, those are corporate certifications. We just went over the federal. DBEs are for state contracts.
Okay.
And DBE is the Department of Transportation or MARTA. So again, once you do the 8A and the ED, they're going to be asking for the same paperwork because again, they're getting federal dollars. The reason I don't like these E's because I don't know who the players are. I don't know how much money they're making, how much money is in that opportunity. I can go and research everything. Um, but I still want us to have these certifications just because we need to have it and follow wherever the money go. That's my whole mindset because it's still the same process. Again, there are costs with those certifications. What I want to do now is go to a couple of the websites. I'm a visual person.
Okay.
Um, I don't like SAM.gov to look for opportunities. This is the database that I like better. It's called FBO Daily. The reason I like this better is because um, it's 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 user friendly and it's structured based on the government, how the government is buying its services. It is a commercial, but the reason I like it is it's broken down by year, and I call this my shopping, my therapy. What is the government buying today? Because now it's broken down month, and I can go in and daily see what is the government buying. Now, as I say, we're in May. So as we get closer to June, these numbers are going to, September, especially August, it's going to be 2,000 solicitations or more a day. The thing is, they don't have enough small businesses. That's why I say now is our time to get in the game because you got inexperience, they got to get rid of the money, and there's not enough small businesses qualifying, competing on these contracts. So it's broken down um, by source of salt. That's the government's doing that first stage of procurement. They're trying to determine who's out there. Once they determine who's out there, based on the number of responses, then it goes to the next phase. So if I have enough women that have responded to this and qualified, we're going to put it aside to the women's program. If I have enough veterans, or if it's just small businesses, I'm going to set it aside for a small business. After it leaves the source of salt, then it goes to solicitations. And so how you see this is structured by alphabet and by industry. And it's going to show you the number of opportunities out that day by industry. I go through all of them because again, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at, well, who do I know that have this skill set? Who can I reach out? So you see what I'm saying with Miss White with the um, um, staffing part of it? That's all it is. I don't have to know anything about medical services. Let me see what they're looking for. They need healthcare workers. So I just met this young man yesterday. He has a healthcare staffing, and I went in there and everything that he's doing, they looking for those positions. All you're doing is staffing these agencies. Um, I said I looked at the bread opportunity. That was in the PowerPoint. So when you look at this bread and what they're looking for, this is what they posted. So you can see, again, they already going back and amending it. This is the cover letter. This is what's in this is not the typical solicitation and how it's posted. That's why I say it's going to come back out. They're going to probably extend this past May 29th because it's all wrong. This is all that they asking. Um, they're not, they did not include any of this in their, what they posted. There's no Block 17A, none of this, right? This is the second one. It's just telling you the delivery schedule. It's not telling you how much bread. It's not telling you anything. So I know they're going to put this back out because, again, I know they don't know what they're doing. But this is a run and done. That's what I call run and done. That's the low hanging fruit. Those that are 250,000 and below, in and out. That's how you begin to get generate revenue and build capacity. I mean, build past performance. Is that making sense to you? This is the other website that I talk about. This is where you all, through the program, learn to leverage this database to create the marketing strategy. This is the database where all of your dollars are posted. So anytime the government awards a contract and or grants, it's posted here into this website. So if I'm looking to determine how much did that bread cost the last time, I can put that information in this database and get an estimate of what the previous award was about. This was again the database that I said houses those sole source contracts. So right here, I'm gonna show you one of the other students that was winning while she was in class. We'll go back. That was in 2019. But right here, let me show you here, is where I help you all to create. This right here is the goal, because this is the contract. These contracts won't ever be advertised on SAM.gov. But I wanted you to see this other student and what she won. Um, let's do the same one. All right. So this goes in and it shows, her history of what she's won, and what agencies, right? So this is one that she won. This was her first contract. The government needed 3 days meeting space at a hotel. She found a hotel. That cost was $48,000. She put her bid in at $104,000. She won. And then here, to prove my point, it was just for a 3-day meeting space. And she got paid 2 weeks after the event ended. So look here. Only one person submitted. And it was a small business set aside. So this is where I'm saying you begin to get your feet wet. But the overall strategy for me is that you're going to align yourself up with SBA's All Small Mentor. This program, that's what I'm helping you all to do through the program, is to leverage this program. Preferably, I'd like you to get into this program before the for the 8A, because what this does, it allows a large business to come in and put your business on steroids.
I love it.
Right here.
But how
That's all your infrastructure.
the mentor?
Huh?
How do we meet the mentors?
That's part of the strategy you taught in the class. I give you the language. I give you you have to understand. You're just not gonna go in there green. You gotta date. You gotta understand who you dating and what you're trying to get out of that relationship.
Oh,
But
good. I love it.
I had one of my 8A. Well, he got into the 8A program under the waiver. This was, I guess, 9 years. He getting ready to graduate. And I knew the clock was on his back. I said, you got to find you a mentor. He found him a mentor in DC. And it was actually a young lady who I helped get into the program in 2008. And she'd been quite successful in the program. They got approved in the mentor protege program after they got approved, created the joint venture the next year. The first contract was $53 million under that joint venture. The second one under that joint venture was 100 million. So this is how we begin to put our business on steroids, but we don't even think that big. I want y'all to think big. The government has billions of dollars of our tax dollars. Are you feeling me right now? Can I get an amen from the church
Amen.
this morning?
Man.
You understand what my logic is in the strategy. And for you, this is all it takes for you to qualify into that program. So my thing is walk in the door with juice. You got all of this support from that large business. You have all of this support from that large business.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're bringing them 8A contracts that they can't qualify for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I did when I left SBA was kind of combined everything that I knew on the SBA side and what I knew as running a business for 10 years to make it make sense and to consolidate SBA's database. So my whole thing was when I built this, it's building a community. We have 2,900 people, 2,907 now in this database. We should never ever have to leave home. We can self-finance and self-partner and self-do whatever amongst each other. So part of the program after people complete it, they have to upload that information. So if I'm in Georgia and I see a contract in California, I got businesses I can reach out to in whatever industry and don't have to try to explain why I'm reaching out and why we can you identify some vendors out there that I'm looking for. This is how it works. And you put all the information in this database. It makes sense to me. You know, we can no longer be solopreneurs.
Collaboration
We
key.
are. Huh?
Collaboration is key.
It has to be. That's what they don't want. Y'all think about
Mm-hmm.
it. And y'all think about our ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If they were able to build Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, Wilmington, Delaware,
Mm-hmm.
with less money, and they built cities, less education,
Mm-hmm.
what are we doing?
Yes. Yeah.
We don't have no time to play here. So
Yeah.
I'm on a mission. I am on a mission because again, I'm in the fourth quarter. I'm not. I done made or all. I done had the money, lost money. It's bigger than all of us, and I need all of y'all to understand it's bigger than you and me. It really is about your grandchildren and their children. And we've got to change the dynamic and the direction of where they're trying to take us.
Yes.
But we've been, my generation, I'll be 65 this year. We we had to first figure out how to be integrated in this system that didn't want us.
Mm-hmm.
But then we got integrated too much because now we left all those behind, and then there was only a few of us that made it.
Right.
And then now our children, we've integrated them into that system, and these children are entitled.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend's sons, one son and their cousin, they just think I can quit a job. It's a different, and we got to change it, y'all. And we are the only ones that can save us. So y'all have any questions around the program and what I discussed?
I came in a few minutes late, so I think I probably missed. Um,
Yes, I was just talking. You didn't miss too much. You just missed me talking about my background and how the program is structured
okay.
and why I created it. So my program is based on 3 modules. It's 18 weeks. Um, and the first module is 6 weeks for each module. The first module, even if you've been in business, everybody starts at the same place because everybody needs to understand it from the SBA's perspective. What are they looking for in these applications? You'll get a CV, a resume. So everything I had in my first business, as I was sharing earlier, I had an event planning business in this space up in DC, and I grew it to $15 million in contracts.
Mm.
But I was sued. So what I did is took everything from that first business and created templates. And I followed the blueprint. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. I got too many evidence of my millionaires and my 1 billionaire that started where you guys were. They did the work, but they had the blueprint. And it's a step-by-step process. By the time you're registered in SAM, I want you to start looking at those RFQs. I had a student that started in February. He won a contract. He's still in class. And it was replacing 2 sliding glass doors in South Carolina at the VA hospital. That's how we at least get into the game. All you're doing is looking for people or companies for the government. The second module is all around teaming. Now that I've just you up, now you're ready to go date. And what does that dating look like? It is understanding who to partner with. What does these relationships look like? How do I approach them? Who are the players? And then the third module is all around the mental protege program. I have the business plan that passes the smell test. I was a spook who sat on the inside. So I got to see, okay, the attorneys, they like that one. So okay, I took it and made it a template. So I know it passes the smell test. Um, hold on. I do have this discount, but my goal is to still minimize. My goal in the end is to get the government to pay for me because that's my reparation. But right now I'm in business and I have to keep my lights on. But until that day, and I'm gonna believe it's coming because we're building our own school. It's not me, it's all of y'all having the um, same. It's no fun being at the top with nobody else. If you all combine, there's a team member rate, which is now going to give you more of a discounted rate to go through the 18 weeks. The next cohort is going to start June 3rd. It's from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. You meet once a week. I'll be teaching that. We also have office hours on Tuesdays from 6 to 7 p.m., where all the cohorts come together and we may go into a little bit more depth of what you're learning or what they're learning in the classes. We have lab sessions on Thursdays to assist people with homework. Because every week in that first module, you're going to have homework, but it's all for you. You're going to have a capability statement. Everything has to be approved. You're going to have templates and all of that as part of the homework. So I do tell people to expect to spend at least 1 to 2 hours a week outside of the classroom to go over it, because you're getting so much in that hour and a half that you're going to miss. And what's interesting over the years, people was like, 18 weeks, that's a long time. Can you shorten it? So I did a test. Okay, I'll make it like summer school. And we meet twice a week. They couldn't hang. It was too much. You need that time to process what you're learning and deprogramming. This is the team deliverable. So this is what everybody will be required to complete by the end of that module. Um, and that's my story. Y'all have any questions? I also would encourage you guys to go to my website and listen to the Business Tube.
Mm-hmm.
Part of our creed is each one teach one. So when they start winning contracts, you got to come out and you got to share. You got to share the story, how you got there. We no longer can hold the knowledge. Malik Yoba went through the program. He won his first contract last year, and I trained him and his family. He was interesting. He came, I was at an event, and he was like, "What you do?" I said, "I create millionaires through contracts." He's like, "I'm gonna call you." I was like, "Whatever." And so he called me. He did call me 2 weeks later and asked me if I would train him and his family. And I said to him, "Look, how you gonna be doing Hollywood and doing my class? Because I don't want you wasting my time." He's like, "No, no, I'm serious." And he didn't miss a class. He got it. Next thing I know, he's at these government conferences, the keynote speaker, Department of Energy. Like, you didn't know anything about this 2 years ago. So
Wow.
it's all about us sharing. This brother right here out of Chicago, he's here in Atlanta. He has about 320 employees, probably about two or 300 million in contracts. So it's all about us coming out. This is my billionaire baby. Her first contract that she won, and she stayed in the real estate. That's why this is part two. The first one she won was for 45 million. This one was $1 billion, managing all of USDA's foreclosed properties.
Hmm.
So it's a method to the madness. I don't promise anything. She's doing right now. I met her in 21. She just got 8A. She's probably doing about, and she took this and ran with it. She won 8 contracts within a year.
Wow.
She comes back and tells you how she did it. So I don't promise anything. I'm not about fool's goals. But what I can say, you put the work in, it does work. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am. Can you introduce yourself and how you hear about us and where have
Yes,
you
ma'am.
been? This
My name is Quateria. I heard about you from, we had a healthcare here in Birmingham, maybe about 3 weeks ago at the Crossplex. It was
Yes,
sponsored by UAB, and
yes,
Miss December, who does Capital,
yes,
told me about you because I think you spoke at
yes,
the Crossplex that particular day.
yes.
So my question is, so we take the class for 18 weeks. It's basically basically setting us up, getting us in line, making sure we have the correct paperwork, making sure everything is worded right, and no, I guess basically setting us up to make sure that we're in line in order to apply for a contract. Correct?
Yeah, you're gonna be. You can as soon after that 6 weeks, you can start competing.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
have the templates. I don't want everything is active. Everything is practical. So
Okay.
it's on you. But you're
Okay.
going to have the tools and understand what you're competing and why you're competing and how you should be responding on those low-hanging fruits. That's the beginning. The
Yes, ma'am.
ultimate goal is that you're going to get tied into that mentor protege and get the big millions. And the
Okay.
little, I'm just getting y'all warmed up with the little money. That's the RFQs.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what's some takeaways, Miss White?
Mhm. Um, First of all, my takeaway is that you cannot succeed if you don't know what you're doing. So you really do need a community to help you navigate all of the different steps and forms and um, building those relationships with people to be able to staff. I've kind of been looking at government contracting for a number of years, just never pulled the trigger. But one of the things that was fascinating to me, like I said, my background is in HR, but um, a lot of people talk about like the being the middleman. Maybe there's a waste management contract. I don't know anything about that, but I can still bid on that contract and pull the people in to work that contract. So I think the scariest thing for me, though, is underbidding and still expecting to carry out that work. I've heard some horror stories about that. So.
Because folks ain't factoring in the cost. So I'm glad you brought that up. This is right here is a contract. I came in second. It was a $30 million contract. Um, the government, this is a 5-year contract. It had this much of labor. So the government's going to reimburse me for all of my costs. They know you are in business. And so those who are underbidding, they're underbidding at their own detrimental, trying to win the contract. If you're not going to pay me, I'm not bidding under, that doesn't make sense to me. So the way this contract is this was for grants management. Right here, the government's going to reimburse me. They understand it costs me to hire people, so there's a pool in my that they're going to reimburse me for fringe benefits. Here is the overhead. They're also going to reimburse me. That's where my salary came out. The partner's salary came out. They covered my rent. All of that was covered in that pool. Here is just pass through. Money in, money out. I had a subcontractor, that was her cost. And as you can see, each year you get to increase it. Then right here is what they call G&A, General Administration. And that's also covering part of my salary and my other partner's salary. But I needed a bookkeeper. I needed an accountant, an attorney. Their costs and their salaries would come out of this pool. And then after it was all said and done, this would have been my profit on that contract. I would have made 1.2 million at the end of the 5 years, just on that one contract after everything is paid. And that's why I say most people aren't going to share all of this with you because it's considered proprietary. So that's why I took all the templates from my winning proposals, my personnel manuals, everything to incorporate in this program. So one, you understand the business side of it and you're just not jumping in it and not having to protect yourself like I did. I didn't have no protection. I got sued. So understand the rules of engagement on both sides. All right. Thank you, Miss White. Miss Harris, what was your takeaway?
Ah, I loved everything about what was said. What I think I really liked most was what I'm hearing. Basically, like I explained a little bit earlier, been tapping and dancing around with the GT Pat and the SBA people, and they only give you enough to be dangerous, not enough really to go in and like really win. For me, I consider myself like really like I had someone, I don't know if you know Patrice Dozier. She's amazing. Now she's amazing, but she said, "Hey, I can't coach you. I can put you on the path, but I am still an employee. So I can't coach you." And in this space, that was my takeaway with that. You really just need a coach, someone that tells you how to, what play you need to play, how to hit, what to do to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my greatest takeaway from this, because Patrice fell in love with me. She was like, "I just believe you're gonna do this thing." And
Yeah, yeah. I worked with Patrice for 5 years. I mean, while I was there, yeah.
Gave me as much as she could, but
And again, you have to think of all of those people. They're still W-2. They're still limited. When folks complete my program and they present their capability statement, and I still say connect with PTAC, but PTAC gonna say, how are you doing all of that? Or why aren't you in your skill set? And I tell them to tell the PTAC counselors, that's not my job as the CEO. I have a team of subject matter experts that are well qualified to offer the services that I'm offering under my business.
okay.
Don't pigeonhole yourself. You don't have to.
Yeah.
And billions of dollars. It's just getting in the structure and making sure I think where everybody get challenged, I tell everybody, you're gonna cut and paste. This is one of the websites. You're gonna cut and paste into what everybody else is doing. And
Okay.
it's okay. So this was my old supervisor. Hold on. Hold on. Can y'all see my screen?
Mhm.
This is
See
really,
your website.
huh?
You see your website, the
Okay,
courses.
let me stop sharing. Hold on.
I just put my information in the chat. Mary and I are neighbors. I live
Okay. Mary, y'all need to be partnering to come together and cut some costs here.
yeah. So Mary live in McDonough. I'm right around the corner in Hampton.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. This is my old supervisors. We all started at the same time. And I use this as an example that everybody cut and paste. You're going to go in, what? And she's right now, she started in, same time I did that first business. The government has paid her $1.5 billion since she's been in business.
Oh wow.
And we were all doing the same thing. So every job that you have, some of these things throughout your whole career, you're going to include. You're doing it. Now you look like everybody else, so that when you start talking to them, like, oh, you do the same. Let's think you're doing the same thing I'm doing. Let's see how we can partner. It's not as competitive from that perspective. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, this is the ideal website. I mean, services. Everybody is doing the same.
Okay.
The young lady I talked to that won the CDC contract, again, her background, she's still Libra Real Estate Company, but to the government, she's doing a DBA and she's Libra Management. These are her bots. This now, once she won that contract, now she's able to say, I have scientific and medical support services. Everybody is doing the same thing. Labrisha, who you heard, Dawson, she started out again the same thing. She had to come in, and this is the $1 billion baby. What I'm loving about her, she followed instructions. I said, when you start winning, buy you a building. Homegirl has bought her a building. Dawson Management. I'm so proud of her. Look, she's changed it, but this is the building that she's bought. This is how we play the game. What's happening, Breezy? So, but that's it, y'all. I know I've taken up enough of y'all time, but I just want us, we just got to get in. We're not even getting in. We not, and I don't know why something's happening with her website. We're not even playing. I don't know why. So, see, something wrong, Breezy. Because this is what she was trying to get you all to do. Come up. She got all the real estate agents she got all these foreclosed properties. The government's trying to have her to get rid of. All right. Miss Bryant, you have any questions?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Does this all make sense to y'all?
I would just have to like actually like get more deeper into it and get to reading, get to looking at your format and stuff like that together. Better understanding.
I'm gonna send everybody the recording, so you can recap. And my last word is, as Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed 1,000 more slaves if they only knew they were slaves. Amen.
Oh, Lord.
Huh?
Come on, Lord.
Huh?
I said, come on, bless me.
All right. I told you I got my own Underground Railroad going. So, you on board or not, but I know it works. It's proven. I've been doing this 10 years and people are winning. And that's when I know I'm good. And that's, you all become my legacy. And y'all have got to do the work for the children coming ahead of us.
Amen.
All right. All right. Y'all have a happy weekend. Thank you all for joining me. I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Paula.
Thank you.
Thank you for that time today. This was amazing. I will connect with Mary and see if what we can come up with and
Bring some teams. That's it. The more we know, the more again, we can't be silo. It's too hard.
Right.
It's too hard.
So Sandra, I put my number in the chat as well.
Okay, I did. Write it down. Okay.
All right.
Have a blessed day.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. All right. Talk soon. Bye-bye.